Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. We're joined by Mike Sertic with Raymarine. We're talking about the Axiom Pro 2. This is a 12-inch model. So far, I'm just super impressed. And I've had a chance to play with a lot of different units over the years. But this is the start. This is where you're going to kind of start when you start the day.
Yep, when you first fire this thing on, you turn it on for the first time, and it'll ask you what language, ask you what kind of boat you're running, right? And you'll input all those details. There's some parameters, too, for like your safe depth settings. So if you're using features like auto routing, right, when it generates a route for you, it'll say, hey, don't take me in water shallower than, 15, 20 feet, right?
Sure.
And once you get all that configured, yeah, then you come to your home screen here, and you can set it up for freshwater fishing, saltwater fishing, cruising and sailing, right? There's even some first responder stuff in it. But just like your iPad or your iPhone, you fire it up here. These are all your different apps. These come preloaded on the display here.
That's a lot of apps.
Yeah, big time. And you might have a certain app, for cruising, for fishing, night ops, we're on the pick trying to drop the anchor. If you want to create an app, like a blank one here, you can just press and hold. And then say maybe I want to do a split screen, right, where I want to have, maybe I want to have my charts on one side, right? So I'll put my fishing charts over here, and then I want to have my fish finder on the other side, right? And so now I've got my chart fish finder set up, come over here and hit save, and boom, it's saved right there to your home screen.
So you can like literally customize anything that you want.
Big time.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. You set this up any which way you want. As far as charts go, Raymarine has their own brand of lighthouse charts that we crowdsource with NOAA. If for the guys that like Navionics, right, maybe you have a Navionics Plus or Navionics Platinum Plus chart you like to use, those work just fine in these units as well.
So they communicate with one another.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yep, there's actually a little spot right here. So this is completely sealed. There is no point of water entry on this unit. And if you pull back this little rubber grommet, that's where you go ahead and put your chart cards in.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah. And if you want to save, maybe your buddy's got some coordinates or something you want to transfer data, waypoints, routes, and stuff like that, you can, import and export them doing that way as well.
Okay, and that's kind of where having that extra power in here is going to help out as well.
Big time.
Understand, I am not an expert with anything, but understand a lot of things. You need that extra power for that to be able to utilize that different style of technology if it didn't necessarily come from Raymarine.
Yes, and if you look back, the last 10, 15 years and the whole transition of electronics, from 2005 to 2010 and to where we're at now, all those units back in the day just had a single core processor. Right. You were limited to how much data you could store on it. With this thing having a 6-core processor in it, you could store 10,000 waypoints on it.
That's amazing.
It's pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
6-core processor, generally, you have to have a separate product in order to be able to sustain that. It's all built in.
It's all built directly into the unit, yep. And you've got a couple different connections on the back of here. You've got NEMA 2000, right? So if you've got an existing NEMA network, you want to bring in VHF, GPS, autopilot. It's got a handful of 2 network ports, so if you wanted to bring in some cameras, right? We talked about the FLIR cameras, right? So Raymarine being a FLIR branded company, you get all kinds of cool things with the FLIR camera going into this unit. Pretty much anything, Sirius XM, stereo, all this. It's a total multifunction display.
All right, I need to put some wireless speakers in my Willie Raptor now.
Yep.
Because I do like to have music in the boat. Okay, so to the basics though, this is just like any other unit. You got GPS, you've got down imaging, side imaging, and so transducers always pop up, right?
Yes.
Whenever you buy a unit, whoever it might be, you always end up having to buy a separate transducer, and it can get a little bit confusing.
Yes.
Because there's so many options that are out there.
Big time.
With the Raymarine, this particular unit, how many transducers am I going to have on the back of my boat?
Well, so first thing that we ask when somebody's saying, hey, what transducer should I put in? What do you have, outboards or inboards, right? If you're running outboards, more often than not, we can put, transom mount transducers on, right? If we've got inboards or IOs, right, anytime we have cavitation coming off those props, we got to be careful about having transom mount transducers. So if you have outboards, we definitely recommend hanging our RVM 100 because it's a 4-in-1 transducer, does all the 3D, does the side vision, the down vision, all those frequencies in one deucer.
Okay.
If you do have inboards or maybe you want to put a through hull in, you're obviously going to get better performance when you're running with a through hull, right?
Sure.
Having
not going to have that fog under there.
And all boats are different, right? As far as getting good clear laminar flow when you're running, it takes a little trick with the transom mount transducer, but I've got guys that can do 30 miles an hour, 200 feet of water and track bottom.
Yeah, it just takes the right people installing it. The geometry of all that has to be correct, and also the location that it's mounted on.
100%, exactly.
So there's a little piece of the puzzle, but it is doable by the pros. Okay, so Number one, that's great, because if you look at the back of all my previous sleds, I've got minimum of 3 transducers.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. I've got a standard, I've got the side imaging, down imaging, and then I've always had a P66 so I could have a
Speed
wheel
through the water.
so that I could see true speed of current. I know that there's a lot of people out there like, well, what do I need that for? Don't ask. It's a long story. Okay, so that utilizes all that. I mean, you can include all that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
My previous units wouldn't do that, so I'll just be honest with that one. How many different versions of the Axiom Pro 2 are there? You mentioned it's just its sizes. Are there different power, or are they all the same but just smaller?
There's 2 models, so we do the 9-inch, the 12-inch, and the 16-inch. This model is an Axiom Pro 12 RVM, which means it has a Real Vision Max sonar in it. We also make an Axiom Pro 12 S model, which if you had 2 Axiom Pro 12s, you would have one of them be in the RVM, which would be dedicated as the master, and then the S model doesn't have all the big sonar in it, right? Because it shares between the network. You don't need to have 2 units with all the sonar in it because it shares.
I got you.
Yeah.
So you can actually save a little bit because you don't have
exactly. Yeah, and you save all kinds of money when you do that.
Rather, yeah, because it can get. I mean, everyone you out there all know. I mean, for crying out loud, it doesn't matter if you have an old boat or new boat. I mean, let alone the new boats, for crying out loud. But electronics have gotten very expensive, and it's one of those things. If you can find a way where you can accomplish everything that you want to accomplish, right? Where there's a lot more to it than just how deep it is below you.
Big
right?
time.
We've got technology now with much what you're looking at here on your screen, where it's all side imaging, down imaging, true real time. That's what's going on, and of course it's mapping. But the display is so impressive because it's just even though we're not really running it at its maximum capacity, are we? I mean, right now?
No, we're in simulation mode right now, and there's all kinds of things you can do to dial up the power. You know, it has an algorithm in it that'll actually adjust the power based on whatever depth you're fishing in, and this is a conversation piece we have with a lot of guys, and hey, I'm fishing Kathleen, and I'm in 10, 12 feet of water. Do I really want this thing full power, when I'm in that shallow water? Because the guys worry about spooking fish.
Sure.
I've put that theory to bed. I've caught fish in 10 feet of water running the big 1 kilowatt before. I've dialed it back before, and so I'm not spooking the fish, and I've caught them that way. There's really no rhyme or reason to it.
I'm on that same page. My point of that question was, even though this is in simulator mode, it is very, very defined. I mean, if you understand how to look at side imaging, you can see that there's fish here off to the side. It can be difficult. It takes a little bit of time. It's like reading the Matrix, okay? Once you see it, it's like you can't not see it. But the display in this mode, okay, is still extremely clear. I can just imagine what it would be like if it was, really juiced up.
Target separation is a big one, right? Guys want to see fish broken out. The sturgeon guys, right, they'll like to come and see the fish laying up on the side.
Yeah.
Where side vision is, if you saw a group of sturgeon or something on the side here, you wanted to mark it, it's a quick press and hold over here, come down to add a waypoint, go ahead and save your waypoint. You could come over here and put a fish icon, right? Go ahead and hit save, and then when you resume your sonar, now that waypoint shows up on your GPS, so you can go ahead and flip around and start your figure 8s. And
I love that. And you can tie it into other existing autopilots.
Yes,
with the NEMA system.
Yeah, big time. And Raymarine has a full line of autopilots, for kicker motors, for your big engines, right? Some guys like to have all 3, if they got twins and a kicker, have all 3 rudders moving around.
Yeah, super popular for the saltwater guys down south and here, of course, with our massive tuna fleet that we now have here in the Northwest. And for a lot of you out there that, maybe haven't looked at Raymarine, I'm just going to say I've been doing a lot of research. I had to, because I needed to understand that this was going to work for me. Right? Not to be selfish, but I've made it very clear over the years that if it's not something that I can't use, then it's not going to be part of GPS. It has to be something that I can truly be confident in, or I'm not going to tell all of you people out there. It's just that simple. And what I have found is nothing but great reviews. I have found that folks all over the country, I didn't look worldwide because you're, by the way, if you didn't know, you're an international company. Military contracts like crazy. Coast Guard, for crying out loud. My favorite people in the whole world, we love you out there, Coast Guard. They rely on this for a reason, as opposed to any of the options that are out there. It's clarity, it's the power, it's also the backing. Your company by itself has an extremely good reputation if there were to be some sort of issue to be very helpful, which there are some that are not.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Culturally, it's a really cool company to work for. And what you talk about is situational awareness, right? For us to blow offshore or go out and spend all day fishing, we have to get there and back safe every time. Right? That's the story we're telling. If we can help you catch fish and be productive on the water and get home safe, that's the story we're telling, man. So
the Axiom Pro 2, absolutely usable for all of us that love the Columbia, love the Willamette, fish the Clackamas. If you're going to be on the Wilson, tidewater, shallow water, you can adjust these things to anything that you want. But for all of you that are saltwater folks, and that's what you do, up north, down south, it doesn't matter where, if you're watching over in Idaho at Coeur d'Alene, because that may as well be an ocean, in my opinion.
And we have boats in Coeur d'Alene that have these systems.
One of the guys that you sponsor or whatever it is over there, I'm telling you, he is cladded out with FLIR and radars and all that stuff. I want to talk a little bit about that. How Raymarine, for you saltwater folks, the big 30-footers and under, of course, that want to chase tuna if you're going offshore chasing halibut, charter companies that are out there. When we come back, let's talk about that application as well, what that will do for you when you're offshore, which scares the heck out of me. That's why I'm a freshwater guy. We'll be back with that in a minute.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective. And by North American Metals Incorporated, first choice for all your metal roofing and siding needs.